Hey everybody, long time no see. Oh wait, no it isn't. Anyway, do you guys remember I did a podcast a little while ago? It was just so popular, everybody watched it. But it was a podcast where I went and found like over 47 people living all over Japan, and I would interview one person in every prefecture, and guess what? The first person I interviewed was this really nice lady in Fukuoka. She's old school gaijin like me. And I got a cool, fun surprise because guess what? Papa Tetsu with the reveal. Yeah! Look, I met her in person, guys. She's real.
Time. 5 years later.
5 years later. Finally happened.
Yeah.
Finally happened.
Unbelievable. I was really happy to get your message, you know.
Yeah.
To finally get a chance to meet. And
I was just like, you know what? It's ironic because we just chose Fukuoka on the fly to come here. And yeah, and then I was like, oh my God, wait, Anne lives in Fukuoka. We should totally meet up with her and see if we can get like some footage. So
yeah, I was really excited. I'm really excited to talk to you.
Can you give us a little elevator pitch of who you are?
Oh, sure. My name's Anne Cristini. I am a university professor here in Fukuoka Prefecture at the University of TkyoSam. I research なんだっけ英語で foreign loan words and 和製英語 Japanese English, and I also do media work. I do TV commentating, radio, lectures, narration, translation. Yeah, pretty much everything. So very busy, but yeah, I just love everything I'm doing. And I also write books and newspaper columns and blogs and that kind of stuff. So
yeah, guys, she's actually been here. How many years have you been here now?
In Japan, I've been here for 21 years, and in Fukuoka, about 17. Yeah.
17 years?
17 years.
17 years. 17 years.
Wow, 17 years.
How about you? How long have you been in Japan?
I've been here in June. It'll be for 15 years.
15 years. Yeah.
So you're the senpai. You're the senpai here. Senpai.
Yeah.
Senpai. Yeah, guys, make sure if you want to hear the actual podcast where we go into why she loves Fukuoka and who she is more, then yeah, check it out. Boom, right here. Yeah, click on the thing up here. That's the link. Put it in your bookmark and check it after the video is done, okay? Don't go over there just yet. But yeah, we're going to talk to Anne, and she's going to share some fun stories and stuff that we were talking about before. And yeah, anyway, yeah. So how's it going these days? You started up your own blog, book, TV series. Like what's it seems like as soon as like we did a podcast or something, it just like you're like, okay, I want to do this and that and like everything.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, you know, this actually, your podcast was the first time I ever was in any kind of media, anything.
Really?
Like, yeah, my first time to ever like, you know, do anything, YouTube or media or anything. And then after that, I started doing a bilingual blog, and that blog just really took off and spread all over the country. And from that, I got media requests to be on TV, and I got a book offer, I got a newspaper offer, and lectures. I was in TEDx of Fukuoka. I was in TED twice. Since then I've written 6 books and about 500 blogs and about 100 articles, and I'm a regular here on a local TV show. And yeah,
wow,
it's
it just
like,
kind of boom. Like
it really did. I wasn't expecting it, nor did I want it. It just kind of happened, and then when I started doing it, I'm like, wow, this is fun. You know, I can do this, and I enjoy it, and this is the life. I mean, you know, I remember the first time I was on TV, they asked me to do a segment about Japanese English.
Yeah.
And I remember they paid me like 1,000,000 yen, 10,000 yen, and I remember just that just joy. Like, wait a minute. I'm on TV, they put me on TV and they pay me to do that? You know, because for me, I'm thinking, you know, they're putting me on TV and they're doing something for me.
Yeah.
But they saw it as me doing something for them. And so, and since then, that joy, that childlike, that pure kind of childlike joy has never disappeared. Like, I still can't believe I make money doing what I like so much.
I bet, like you said that you're like a university teacher though. Are your students like at all like super like they like to brag and be like, well, actually, I have the professor that's on TV.
Well,
your professor's cool and all, but my professor's on TV.
As a professional YouTuber, you know this, but college students don't really watch TV.
Oh yeah, they don't watch it. They don't care.
A lot of my students probably don't even know that I've been on TV or whatever. But there are some who. There's a couple times I was on national shows and they saw those. But I kind of have a fledgling YouTube channel, so they some of them watch that. But I think they enjoy my classes and they enjoy what I teach them, and they're good kids. Yeah.
What about your own kids? Do they think it's cool? Like, do they get said at school like by the other kids being like, I saw your mom on TV last night, dude. She was talking about something. I don't know, but she was there. Like. I know when I'd be on TV, my students would have like a ball. They would be like, "Oh my God, Sam Sensei's on YU Nippon or whatever," and I'm like, "Yep, it was pretty fun."
Have you ever been on that show, by the way?
I've been on there like 2 or 3 times.
Really?
They forgot about me every single time that I had been on there like a time before. 2 times at Narita, 1 time in Shinjuku.
You were probably giving them a hard time, weren't you?
I was like super dressed all weird and stuff. They loved it. It was the exact kind of person they wanted to interview.
Yeah, I was on those gaikokujin shows twice.
Yeah.
I was on Made in Japan, which was on a couple years ago with Yama-chan.
Yama-P, yeah.
I did what do they call it in English? Michakuroke. I went to America for a week and did a show there, and I came back and I was on that show. But Japan really loves those shows, right? Those shows where gaikokujins talk about why they love Japan and stuff like that. But to get back to your question, my kids, it's hard for me sometimes because I'm so busy. Sometimes I have that typical mommy guilt. Am I being with my kids enough? And then right when I feel bad, the kids will come home and they'll be like, "Oh, Mommy, my friends saw you on TV today and they thought you were cool." And yeah, I'm glad you're on TV. You make me feel cool. Like they'll say stuff like that. So. Yeah, they like it and they think it's cool, but after a while the novelty of it wears off and they're like, "Oh, you were on TV today? Sorry, forgot to watch you," kind of.
Aww. Well, I mean, but that's kind of cool when you get to that point of being on TV so much that they're kind of like, yeah, like I'm so used to it. Like, maybe the first 3 times it was cool. Now it's like, it's like every week,
Yeah, but they, they think it's cool and but. It's hard because I'm gone a lot and I work a lot and stuff, but...
Well, you live in Japan. It's kind of like every other parent, right?
Yeah, but I've come to this, like, I'm turning Japanese in so many ways because I love work so much.
Yeah.
I just want to work all the time. I'm like, what's happened to me? I'm turning into a Japanese person who loves to work all the time,
You're, like, one of the things I really liked about you that, like, really stuck out about you when I first, like, I got to talk with you is that, like, you're this, like, cool mom who like lives in Japan, and like you speak fluent Japanese, but also you're like a college professor, but you also have this like short blonde hair, which is totally not cool for Japanese chicks to have ever.
Never.
But you have like all these piercings and stuff, and you got these custom clothing, and it's like for me, I always get ragged on by other fellow gaijin for being like, "Oh, you're not assimilating right, you're like your hair's not blonde originally, you should like cut it and do the whole like regular assimilation thing." But I'm like, I want to do my own thing, but you're actually like you're doing it but within the institution. Like, did you have a lot of hard time like kind of like getting to this point, like fashion wise, like acceptability wise?
I was a little bit worried at first because I don't have the typical university professor look, right?
Yeah.
In fact,
maybe in America you do.
Actually, I do have a funny story. I was stopped once at Fukuoka airport for suspicion of drug smuggling.
Me too. Well, not Fukuoka.
Because, and the guy was like showing me pictures of marijuana. And I have to admit, I did look a little bit kind of rough. I'd been on the plane. I had I had a baseball cap on, a leather jacket, and all my piercings, and he showed me all these pictures of marijuana, and he was like, "Do you have any of this?" And I'm like, "Well, first of all, no, but even if I did, I wouldn't tell you.
Yeah.
If I did." But then, he was just kind of harassing me, and I was just like, "Well, that's whatever." Then he said, "Well, what do you do?" And I said, "Well, I'm a university professor." And he started laughing, and he goes, you so don't look like a university professor.
Yeah.
And it was kind of annoying because I'm like, okay, so what exactly does a university professor look like anyway? That's that stereotype where, you know, there's this standard of what it is, you know?
Yeah.
So at first I thought he stopped me because I was a foreigner, but then I realized that's not why he stopped me. He stopped me because I looked like just a punk. Like I looked like an ayashi person, you know, like a doubtful, suspicious person, whatever.
And then you're like, I have 3 kids and I'm married and I'm like, I have a super majume job and I'm actually on TV here in the prefecture.
But it was like it was so much like profile. It was such a and, you know, he has the right to stop me as a guy in the customs, but you know, to make comments like that, I'm like, that was kind of out of line. But then the funny thing is, he opened my bag and he was looking at my bag, and I just returned from a Christian conference in the States.
Yeah.
And there was a Christian CD in my bag, and he pulls it out and he's like, oh, I love this singer. I'm a big fan of hers too.
Oh.
And so from that point on, he was like totally like, oh, we like the same gospel singer you are, okay? And he let me through.
Nepotism is such a thing here, huh? I remember, like, before I met him, I was in this, like, really ratty, like, just boroi apartment in Guisadani in Tokyo. But anyway, long story short, I burst one of the pipes in the apartment. It was totally my fault, but it was actually, the apartment was really old, and they apparently had lied about updating the pipes, but I basically flooded my neighbor's apartments below me. And the guy from the Kanri Gaisha came, and he, like, you know, he's all like, I can't believe you did this, and like kind of like not yelling at me, but like being like really serious and blah, blah, blah. And I had like Slam Dunk, the anime, playing in the background. Right. And he's like, what, you know, you got in a lot of trouble here, and hey, is that Slam Dunk? And he's like, anyway, 5 minutes later, we're all talking. I was like, am I in trouble? He's like, oh, no, you're cool. You're cool. And I'm like, dude, like, you know, it's like they have to put on this face of like professionalism until one point where you guys can find a similar interest, and then you're good to go.
Right.
But that's, I don't know.
It was fascinating to me because I'm just like, all of a sudden he just changed his view on me, and I was fine now, you know, but you know, the whole idea where, you know, there's this standard of a university professor, and then so I was worried because I'm like, you know, is this look gonna be okay at my university? But you know, in general, Japanese universities are, as long as you do your work and do your research and you do your classes, they don't care.
Yeah.
And I knew I was in good shape. I did this crazy haircut, and the next day I ran into the dean of the university, and I passed him in the hallway, and I'm like, you know, what's this guy gonna say to me, right?
Yeah.
And I passed him in the hallway, and he looks at me and he goes, man, that looks really good on you. And I was just like, oh yes, I'm set, you know, no problem.
So it was like kind of a gradual thing. I remember when I was teaching at this school in Chiba, I asked one of the other ALTs, like, that my boss had been telling me to wear like suit and business stuff the whole time, but meanwhile one of the other ALTs, he wore like Hawaiian shirts, sandals, and jeans, and I'm like, well, how did he get away with it? Why not? And he's like, dude, you do it slowly. First, you do the Hawaiian shirt tucked in, buttoned up. Then you do the jeans once a week, then twice a week, and then you do the sandals. You know, it's like, I was like, oh, you build up to it, you know? And it's like, if people like you, you can get away with murder in this country, it seems.
You know, I think that's what I did. I think I gradually did the hair, and I gradually opened up, and I gradually did the earrings. So I think you're right. That definitely, if you do it all at once, it freaks them out.
Yeah.
But and I also think that as a foreigner, we're not expected to follow the same standards as a Japanese person. I think they give us a little bit more grace, and they'll be like, oh, you know, you're a foreigner, oh, it's whatever. But if it was a Japanese person, it might, you know, be a little bit different, you know. But in general, I try to live as much as I can in Japanese society. Like, my kids go to Japanese schools, and you know, and as much as possible, I try to, you know, live as a Japanese person would live within society. Like, I did PTA, for example. Like,
yeah, PTA,
which I think is like it should stand for Parent Torture Association. But you know, so as much as possible, I try to really meld into the society, I think. In fact, I don't do any of my work in English. Everything I do is in Japanese.
Oh wow, you teach your classes in Japanese?
Well, I teach my classes mostly in English, but everything else, like all the media work that I do, lectures and writing and TV and radio, it's all in Japanese. So. Oh
wow! Yeah. Like I noticed that. Yeah.
So I'm actually really struggling right now because I haven't been speaking English so much.
Well, I guess because you're at work doing the what is it, like, aside from classes and everything else, aside from like home and classes, everything is in Japanese. It
is, and like it's weird. Like, I get into this mode and I can't get back into English, and In fact, I got a lecture request once in English, and it freaked me out because I hadn't done any lectures in English. And I negotiated with them. I said, can you please let me do it in Japanese? And they're like, well, yeah, I guess. And I felt so much relief because I'd never done a lecture really, like at a, you know, an event, like a venue. I'd never like done a talk event in English before. So, but yeah, it's interesting because you probably find too that your identity changes, right? As you're.
Yeah, I've become kind of, well, I mean, I don't know. At one point, like, I got to the point where it's like I had the short haircut. I was working with this guy, and I had the short haircut, the tie, you know, the Keigo, everything, and I just got to the point where I'm like, I don't like being like. I mean, when I was in Chiba, it was fun because like I first lived in Chiba before Tokyo. But when I was in Chiba, I was like, if I make any references to anything American or make any kind of jokes that even sound like American or like
Right.
English joke, no one's gonna get it, and then like I'm just gonna like isolate myself from people. So it's like I had to kind of dive into the pool, but then it's like after a while I'm like, I don't know. I know that being in Tokyo is very different, as you know, from being anywhere else in the country. It's like Vatican City. It's just like it's not the same as the rest of the country.
Right.
And I think in Tokyo, a lot of people want to use English, or they expect you to be a tourist even during Corona and everything.
Right.
And then on top of that, I feel like I get away with a lot more stuff by being a foreigner. So it's like I went full Japanese. Then I'm like, they're treating me the same as Japanese. This okay. That's
You don't
not.
want that.
Yeah, I was like, you know what? That's
Yeah.
because then anytime I would screw up, they would just go back to they would fall back on the gaijin thing, even if it had nothing to do with being
Right,
foreigner.
right.
Like I literally like made a mistake or something just because no one ever told me. Like yep, he's a foreigner. I'm like, I speak your language. You can't even say a simple sentence to me. You know, like.
You know, my kids were born and raised in Japan, and
Yeah.
they've always gone to Japanese schools. And one of them doesn't like to study, and her Kokoro scores are very low. And her friend said to her, "Oh, that's because you're American." And it made her so mad. You know, she was like, "It's not because I'm American. It's because I'm lazy and I don't study."
Yeah.
Because there's no reason my Japanese scores should be any different than your Japanese scores because we both go to Japanese schools and we're born here. And it was just that, and her friend didn't have any kind of like, you know, ill will when she said that. It was just kind of this, well, you're a foreigner, so it's kind of shikata ga nai, you know, there's nothing you can do. And she was like, no, I'm lazy. It's not because I'm a foreigner, you know. So I think, you know, there's that, you know, me in the same way, I've been doing everything in Japanese, and a lot of people have come to see me the same way, like you're Japanese, and so they have those same expectations, like you were saying, like, you know, why don't you understand that? You know, well, because I don't understand everything about the culture. You know what I mean?
Well, I like it how I can kind of pull the. Well, I mean, that's why I was like, if you're gonna fall back on me being a foreigner every time I slip up, then I'll give you a foreigner. I'll give you I'm gonna finally grow my hair out the way I wanted and bleach it blonde. And
So you started doing that a few years ago?
Actually, I kind of copied your style a bit. I mean, I'm not doing it today, but I was like, I actually like wearing business clothing. I just didn't like the rules of having to wear like certain style shirts or like certain style, like, you know, you can't wear jeans or you can't like accessorize or put like pins and stuff on them. And I was like, you know what, like I'm not gonna go full host club here, but I was like, ew, why not have fun of it? Why not do it my way?
Right.
But yeah, so you know, well, why is it you chose like here versus like Tokyo? Like everyone always says, like it's either why did you choose Tokyo versus the other place? Because foreigners in Tokyo are very different from foreigners outside of Tokyo. I think like it's very like because you guys chose to assimilate and get really like into real Japan.
True. I mean, I do go to Tokyo for work a lot, but I mean, the main reason is because my graduate school and my university are sister schools.
Yeah.
So when there was an opening at my university, I applied for it and I got it. It's not like we wanted to live in Fukuoka, it just happened to be that's where the job was. But once we came here, we just really liked it. We don't live here in the city, we live in Munakata, which is an hour away. It's kind of more rural country area. And you know, we like the slow-paced life. It's very cheap. We bought a house for really cheap, and you know, it's huge. It's a huge, freezing cold Japanese house, but you know, it's huge. You know, it's a great place to raise kids. The food's good, and people are nice, and you know. But at the same time, I like to go to Tokyo. I like that shigeki, the stimulation that you get from being in a big city, and you know, a lot of work is there. You know, I mean, you get a lot more work there. So I like living here, but you know, I do enjoy going up to Tokyo for the, you know, every now and then just to get that, you know, international field and stimulation and stuff in that area. So.
Well, I like it how it's just like it feels like it's the New York City, LA, Washington. It's like everything you want to do is there, but also because everything you want to do is there, it's also really hard to like. People always say around the country, Japanese will always say Tokyo people are pretty sumitai or whatever, but I think it's not that they're cold or like they're mean on purpose. It's just like everyone's kind of busy, or like they have a place to go. They got an agenda. It's like they don't have a lot of hima, I think, or free time to move around or whatever. But yeah, this is fun. Actually, like speaking of like, I noticed I was mixing Japanese a little bit with the English.
I do that all the time.
This is so fun though. Like when you're speaking to another bilingual person, it's so fun because you can just like kotobaを混ぜても構わないの状況になるし。
確かに。
でもまあ it's like but sometimes like you get your head your husband's American,
right?
And your kids obviously grew up with you guys speaking English in the house. But do you ever have to speak English to the kids just because it's sometimes easier to yell at them in English or Japanese? Like I think I would have a problem because I teach bilingual kids on Saturdays, and like sometimes I'm just like, okay, listen, I know you're gonna pull that. I don't know what you're saying, so I'm gonna say it in Japanese, so you can't say, oh, I don't understand the English. I'm like, no.
Well, you know what? My kids, I think, feel more comfortable in Japanese because they've always been in Japanese schools. And I honestly feel more comfortable in Japanese most of the time. So just my husband feels more comfortable in English. So a lot of times I think we almost feel like we have one of those international marriages sometimes. Because he's very American in his identity, whereas I'm becoming more and more Japanese, And the kids are very Japanese in the way they think. But my kids' English is, their spoken English is pretty good. They don't have an accent or anything, but the vocabulary is very low. So a lot of times they'll put Japanese words into English sentences when they don't know a word. They'll be like, oh, where's my suito? It's in the genkan, that kind of thing. But I do find that when they feel like they want to tell me how they're feeling or whatever, a lot of times they switch to Japanese because it's easier for them to convey how they're feeling. And because I'm bilingual, that's fine too. But sometimes I think my husband maybe feels a little bit left out because he doesn't always fit into that conversation. So, but I mean, we generally try to speak in English at home. Like that's our rule because they get Japanese everywhere. But sometimes none of us can switch back into English mode after being in Japanese mode all day long. Yeah. So we'll end up, doing that like crazy mixed whatever. But generally, I don't care if they speak Japanese, but I don't really like it if they mix everything together so much. I'd rather them just speak one or the other. But I do the same thing, so I can't really complain.
Did you thinking about it, how it's like, kind of like getting onto your, like switching it up a little bit, like getting on, like, you have like a blog, you do TV, you want to start doing YouTube, like you have books that were published, right? Like, you have all this stuff, like, but you were this like kind of funky looking, cool, down to earth person before that. Like, did somebody ever say to you, like your husband or like your coworkers, like, you should do TV or like you should make a book, or like, or was this just like more like you were inspired to do it yourself, or like were other people telling you like, oh, you should be on TV? Well, you totally look like you could be on TV.
I never really got that. I got you should write more because your writing is really funny and interesting. So I got a lot of people encourage me to write more blogs and write more books and stuff. But the TV stuff was nothing I ever even imagined that I wanted to do. In fact, when I was a child, I had a really bad stutter. And so I've always been kind of conscious about speaking in front of people, especially speaking a foreign language in front of people, and then speaking a foreign language in front of people in the whole freaking prefecture, right? Yeah. So it was kind of, but about 5 years ago, I just kind of had this, I don't know if it was a midlife crisis or renewal or whatever, but I'm just, I'm just going to try everything and to see what I can do, and if I fail, I fail. And I just decided that if I got a request to do something, no matter what it was, I'm going to do it. And then we'll see what happens. I mean, whether I was good at it or not, and so I would get a TV request and I'd do it. Oh, I can do this is fun, and I'm good at it. Oh, I can do narration too, I can do radio. And then there's certain things I'm not so good at, like doing like shokuripo, like talking about how food tastes or whatever. That's just not my thing, right? But I have gotten even better at that, So it's all about practice, I think, for anything. But I just got this in Japanese, the challenge seishin. You know, I'm just gonna try anything, and then when I got on TV, everyone's like, "Oh, you look really, you know, you got that TV look, you know," and so I'm like, well, then I got just more requests to do different stuff, and then I started doing radio, and I, you know, because I'm a professional speaker, so that was actually something that was suited to my voice, I think, and so it's just everything I try, I like. It's really hard for me to turn work down because I just love it. I love everything that I get asked to do, you know. So yeah, it's just it's amazing you can do what you want and get paid for it. I mean, it's a really blessing and a huge, amazing thing, I think, if you can actually join your hobby and your passion and your job into the same.
You said you wanted to do YouTube, starting to do YouTube more and more and more. Like, what do you think your YouTube videos are going to be about?
I've actually been doing YouTube for about a year, but it's a channel called An-chan no Kotoba Cafe, and I pick up one either Japanese English word or English term or just some kind of one theme, and just about short 5-minute videos. I explain that in Japanese, that certain concept or whatever, and it's doing okay. I mean, I've been doing it for about a year, and it's gradually increasing in followers and views and stuff. And I do a YouTube. I put one video up every week, and I do YouTube lives every now and then, but it is something because I'd like to reach the younger generation more, you know, because young kids don't watch TV anymore or radio.
Yeah.
They are into Netflix and Amazon Prime and YouTube. And so I would like to, you know, because my thing is language and words, and you know, I would like that to be able to spread that message to the younger generation, like to get them more interested in English, to get them more interested in Japanese. So that's one of the reasons I started YouTube, because I wanted to try to reach out more to the younger generation, you know. So.
Well, it's a good thing to. I don't know. I think like it's always good to try to reach as many people as you can, especially the younger generations who don't care maybe about kotobas and cafes.
It's time you bit the bullet and started caring about something with all your heart and energy. But you can't care about it if you're always holding yourself back in case it doesn't work out.